In case you thought that this offseason couldn't get any more wilder than it already has been, it was already projected to be a wild offseason for the NFL, especially in the quarterback market. And I was the one who said, okay, let's relax. I don't think that many people are going to be on the move, and I will suck it up and admit it right now. I was absolutely wrong. There have been plenty of offseason moves for the quarterback position, and the latest one happened late last night, and I was absolutely floored by the trade that had happened. Sam Darnold being traded by the New York Jets to the Carolina Panthers. The Jets receive a 6th round pick this year and a 2nd and 4th round pick next year. And of course, the Carolina Panthers receiving Sam Darnold. And I had a lot of mixed reaction to this news. My gut reaction, my first reaction was, this is a little odd. It struck me as a little odd for Carolina. Carolina reportedly was in on Deshaun Watson, offering 3 first-round picks and Christian McCaffrey. Regardless of whether or not you believe that rumor, that report that came out a couple of weeks ago, it doesn't matter now because it doesn't look like Deshaun Watson is going anywhere except probably not the massage parlor. I'm so sorry. But regardless of that, Carolina was in on Deshaun Watson. They've been very vocal about wanting to upgrade at the quarterback position, much to the chagrin of Teddy Bridgewater, who is sitting on a fat stack of paper, a fat contract there in Carolina. So he's eating up a bunch of the salary cap. Carolina has been very vocal about wanting to move on and find an upgrade at quarterback. I just didn't think it would be Sam Darnold, especially with the fact that the Panthers have the number 8 overall pick in the NFL draft. And I'm not quite sure whether the 49ers moving into the 3rd drafting slot kind of provoked this, kind of like a panic button for Carolina to go ahead and pull the trigger on a move, because reportedly Carolina had been in talks with the Jets for this for weeks, a couple of weeks now. So I don't know if it was the 49ers moving up into the number 3 draft slot that basically sent Carolina into a frenzy and said, okay, we need to get this done. We'll give the Jets more picks to get this deal done, because reportedly at the beginning of the offseason, the Jets were expecting about a 3rd round pick for Sam Darnold, and I would say that they got much, much more than that with this trade with Carolina. But it strikes me as odd, because did the Panthers really think that A, they wouldn't be able to get a top quarterback with their number 8 draft slot, or B, the guy that they would be getting at that number 8 draft slot would not be as good as Sam Darnold is? And that's the big question. Whoever that the Panthers thought would be the leftovers of this first 4 to 5 pick spending spree when it comes to the quarterback, position in the NFL draft, this upcoming NFL draft, did they think that whoever the scraps or the leftovers would be from whoever gets pulled away from the first 5 picks, they did not or did think that Sam Darnold would be better than that person? And that's why it kind of strikes me as odd, because look, I think that Darnold is better than most people give him credit for. I think he's absolutely a product of Adam Gase being one of the worst NFL head coaches in history. But I don't necessarily know if it's worth the risk to take a flyer and exercise a 5th-year option, which is, I think that 5th-year option is worth about $18 million. Is it worth the risk to take a flyer, exercise the 5th-year option on a quarterback that could very well be damaged goods because of the production, or the regression rather, due to Adam Gase, instead of taking a chance on a young quarterback that could very well potentially be better than Sam Darnold is? And that's the odd thing for me. And I'm not quite sure really where I fall on the line when it comes to this. I'm not sure what side of the fence I'm going to be pushed over on, because on the one hand, you can absolutely say, look, odds are is that whoever they drafted in that number 8th draft slot is probably going to be the runt of the litter. And whether that's Mac Jones, whether that's Trey Lance, whether that's Justin Fields, you can make the argument that saying, hey, look, Sam Darnold has the NFL experience, although it's not the best NFL experience, but Sam Darnold at least has 2 to 3 years already on the plate. There is more there that we already know, as opposed to what we would have to figure out with a rookie quarterback. And it's very reasonable that the Carolina Panthers are saying, look, we could probably take a chance on Darnold and try and fix Darnold. Either the Carolina Panthers know something we don't, or they're comfortable on taking a chance on a quarterback that has the possibility of being unfixable due to the amount of regression that he saw under Adam Gase. Now, Darnold does get to reunite with Robbie Anderson, which was his best receiver in New York. He does get Christian McCaffrey, so he's going to have the most weapons that he's had as an NFL quarterback thus far into his career. And that in itself is reason to say, okay, well, maybe Darnold is going to be better in Carolina. But I'm not so sure. Again, I think that, Darnold is better than most people give him credit for. But it is very, very real. The confidence of a quarterback, and you see this with guys like with Jared Goff and Mitchell Trubisky, the confidence of the quarterback is one of the most important tangibles that you need to have in the NFL. And I don't know where that sits with Sam Darnold. Now, another takeaway that I have with this is I'm taking a look at Chicago and general manager Ryan Pace, and I'm saying, really, you couldn't pull this off? You chose a 1-year, $10 million deal with Andy Dalton over Sam Darnold, who's a younger quarterback, potentially could be a good quarterback in the NFL. Ryan Pace is sitting there, saying Andy Dalton is our QB1. We're going to go with Andy Dalton. You really couldn't pull off Sam Darnold? I mean, I don't want to speak for Bears fans, but for the majority of the reaction that I've seen, Bears fans are like, really? Sure, Carolina had to give up a couple of more picks to get Sam Darnold, but Ryan Pace really couldn't pull that off. He couldn't get a young quarterback to be that franchise guy moving forward. Instead, he opted for a 30-plus-year-old Andy Dalton who really was kind of average, and we know what Andy Dalton is at this point. He's an average quarterback. I don't know. I feel like Ryan Pace's days are numbered in Chicago if they weren't numbered before, because not only did Ryan Pace go off book and not get Andy Dalton the year before at a $3 million asking price. Instead, he traded for Nick Foles. Now he's signing Andy Dalton when he probably should have traded for Sam Darnold. I feel sorry for Chicago Bears fans. But really, really interesting. Again, I don't know what side of the fence I lie on with this trade. It strikes me as odd that the Panthers chose Sam Darnold over a rookie quarterback. And especially with Teddy Bridgewater on such a massive contract, you would think that they would want to have Teddy Bridgewater be the starter for another season, play off the rest of that contract, have him become a free agent, have whoever they draft at that number 8 draft slot sit behind Teddy Bridgewater for a year. But now there could be a potential QB battle in Carolina between Bridgewater and Darnold, and who knows? Who knows what will happen? It's a very interesting, but also a very odd move. Out of the teams that I had that possibly would have traded for Sam Darnold, I don't think Carolina was anywhere on that list. And I don't know whether this was triggered by the 49ers moving into the number 3 draft slot. I don't know if this was triggered by the fact that the Panthers had a coming to terms with themselves, a one-on-one talk in the mirror saying, hey, look, Deshaun Watson has 22 lawsuits piled on him and climbing. We probably won't be able to trade for him, or should we even want to trade for him? And this also now means that the Panthers will probably not take a quarterback in the draft. They could go linebacker. They could go Micah Parsons. They could even go cornerback with Caleb Farley at 8. And a big winner in this, come to think of it, is the team that's sitting behind him at number 9, the Denver Broncos. Now that the Panthers have played their hand and have went and got a quarterback, the Broncos might have a good opportunity to steal whatever quarterback comes out of that mess in the first 5 picks. So again, the quote-unquote runt of the litter could fall to the Denver Broncos at number 9, and Drew Lock could be getting some competition in Denver very soon. What do you think about the trade that sent Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers? I'm very, very interested to hear your opinions on this. Again, it strikes me as kind of odd. I'm not sure where I fall on which side of the fence yet, but we will see whether or not Sam Darnold can turn it around in the upcoming months. Hey folks, thank you so much for listening to this segment from the Hard-Headed Sports Podcast. If you enjoyed this segment, make sure that you drop a like on the video and a comment. It helps me out a bunch. And if you're interested in watching more segments like this from the show after the show has been completed, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Once again, thank you so much for watching the video. My name is Nick Ryan, and I will see you all again very soon.